Hey and welcome to Neverwinter with Aragon. So we've just got news that the Ribcage, the Bone Devil's Ribcage, is getting a nerf. You can see its Butcher's Might gives you the benefit of 2.5% crit strike and crit severity up to a maximum of 5 stacks, which gives a total of 25% stats when you have all those stacks. Now this has been indeed confirmed that it's going to be reduced down to 1.5% crit strike and crit severity per stack, max 5 stacks, adding up to a total of just 15% stats gained rather than what we'd had before, 25% stats. Now, those of you who have seen my document where I went over the new gear, we do have 2 new pieces of gear that have the exact same bonus as the Bone Devil's Ribcage. You can see that here, Ruthless Advantage and Ruthless Might. And that was giving the accuracy and combat advantage, crit strike and crit severity. And those are going to be reduced as well, down to 1.5% per stack, meaning all of these, instead of giving 25% total stats, will only give 15. So that's an overall game-wide nerf, and yeah, well, what can we say? Yes, it's going to nerf it. Does mean we're going to have to change our builds a bit to make sure we have our stats capped. For example, if you're relying on the Bone Devil's Ribcage and we're planning to just simply upgrade to the new Tactful Leathers, well, you're going to be missing out on 5% crit strike and 5% crit severity for your single target build. So we're going to have to do a bit of rejigging, whether that be using different companions and so on. Again, we're going to have to see. I'll mess around with builds as soon as this comes on the preview server and we can see the nerfed state. Many people will be in an uproar. However, there's no other gear pieces that really compete with this out there right now. It's still giving a total of 15% stats, and we can see on the post that she said, Data Chris, the community manager, they generally want head pieces to give a maximum of only 10% stats, body pieces, the armor, maximum of 15% stats, arms 7.5, same with feet, same with rings 7.5. And with that in mind, you can see that those benefits you gained from the new mythic gear, your graceful harmony, this is actually an improvement for your healer piece, giving 1.5% outgoing healing for each player in the team. That means you're getting up to 7.5% outgoing healing for yourself and a bunch of forte for the team. So that's like a total of 15% stats you're essentially gaining from this, but not you directly. And then you have your Ruthless Rage, which that was there giving the crit severity, and then deflect severity reduction on yourself, and essentially it's being increased to 3%. Again, I'll show all of this later on in another video where I can actually access the preview server. It's currently offline, and we've already went over Ruthless Advantage where you gain accuracy and combat advantage. That's being reduced down to 7.5% total on each of those stats, so that's 15%. And then we do have another piece of gear which was Gladiator's Focus. Essentially it was giving you stacks of critical strike. It used to be only 0.5% to a maximum of 6%. It's changed up to 12%. Puts it more in line with the Ribcage. You're only missing like 3%, but it's a much more like reliable stat bonus. If you're in combat all the time, you'll essentially always have that buff, and it could be very well meta to run with that if you're struggling to keep up your stacks of, let's say, your Bone Devil's Ribcage. Not that it's that hard, especially when you have hard hitting encounter powers with the Band of Air. Now, we don't know. Band of Air could very well be getting a nerf anytime soon. We've heard word that devs aren't particularly happy with its state, but again, we'll have to see. Keep in mind, again, these changes are on the preview server, so these things are still open to change. Still all open to the change, but the new module is creeping closer to launch, so we'll see by then. And you can read through her post there where she justifies why they're making the change, and essentially it's to put it more in line and more balance with regards to the overall gear pieces within the game. You were looking at the Bone Devil's Ribcage as pretty much the only piece of gear in the entire game that gave so many stats. You look at all the other slots and nothing gave up to 25% stats. That being reduced down to 15%. Still, it's still got a pretty big gap between things, let's say like the Breastplate of the Crusader, where it only gives 8,000 stats, but you get what I mean, and at least it makes it not that much of a must for somebody to have, and closes the gap between somebody who has that gear and who doesn't have the gear. Overall, am I content with this change? Well, not really. I'm a bit peeved about that, but I did expect it to come eventually at some point. since the devs had expressed in the past that they weren't happy about the amount of stats it gives, and indeed it was a bit ridiculous, and it is the case. However, it means we're going to have to rejig our builds quite a lot to fit in with that, to find the stats somewhere else. It's not like they're compensating us by giving different gear pieces with more stats. We already have, when we look at the blog, gear pieces that give us these up to amount of stats. 10% of the head, Gristro horns, arms 7.5%, Riskers of participation. For our boots, we have from Vault of Stars the 7,500 combat advantage ones, or you have the power ones. For rings, we have the Red Eyes Glare, 7.5% total stats. And for your body, yeah, it was 25%, now getting reduced to 15%. Again, feel free to express all the opinions you have, and if you only just got the Ribcage, this could be quite a bummer, but again, it's still the best out there, the best gear piece to be using on a healer pretty much, and a DPS for those maximum offensive stats. With that said, if I presented this well, consider leaving the video a like, and if you're new around here, consider subscribing. We'll see you guys around. Goodbye for now.